I have a challenge for you. Pause this video and comment the 5 exercises you think I'm going to tell men over 35 to stop doing. I'm going to bet that you're only going to get 3 right. 2 of these, nobody guesses, and you're probably doing them every single week. Let's jump into it, guys, and let's talk about the 5 exercises that you need to stop avoiding if you're a guy over 35. All right, exercise number 1, and I'm ready to piss some people off. But number 1 is the barbell deadlift. Before you yell at me, here's my criteria to why I have these 5 on the list. It all comes down to risk versus reward. How much reward are you getting from the exercise in terms of building muscle, in terms of improving your overall longevity, versus the reward, how high of a chance of an injury risk is going to be for you. So the barbell deadlift is number 1 for me. The reward is pretty decent in a barbell deadlift. I will say that, as it's a good functional movement to do. However, the risk is just way too high for me, and you're just going to put so much compression and maybe even stress on your spine. So instead of doing like a barbell deadlift, guys, where you're picking up hundreds of pounds from the ground, you can do something like an RDL, a hip thrust, a single leg deadlift. There's better alternatives for you, especially if you want to grow your hamstrings and glutes and even protect your lower spine and kind of improve that functional task. So I'm not against deadlifts. I just think if you're a guy over 35, you should start transitioning away from a barbell deadlift and get to other deadlift variations. Like I said, the RDL, the single leg hip thrust, the single leg deadlift, and even the barbell hip thrust to grow the hamstrings and glutes and protect your lower back. Exercise number 2, and no one really guesses this one, but I have heavy bicep curls. Now let me explain and let me tell you a very quick story to why I have this on the list. A few years ago, I used to do really heavy bicep curls. Like I'm talking like 50 pounds, single arm preacher for like a 5 to 7 rep range. And while my arms probably got a little bit, bigger, my bicep peak got bigger from doing those curls, one thing I noticed over the course of the weeks after doing those curls, my tendons were jacked up. It came to the point where I could barely even curl any weights anymore. And I just stopped doing biceps altogether for like even 1 month because I just couldn't even curl a dumbbell with my forearm flexors right here and my elbows and, even the extensor part right here being absolutely inflamed. So while I recommend doing bicep curls, of course, it's a fantastic exercise to grow your biceps. I think if you're a guy over 35, I would strongly encourage you to go a little bit lighter weight for biceps, focus on the control, the range of motion, and the overall form, and even kind of mixing cables, with dumbbells and other pieces of equipment. If you combine those things, guys, I think that's your best bet in terms of growing your biceps and keeping your joints healthy. I've been doing this method for 2 years now, no pain. It's still a little bit lingering from a couple years ago, but so much better. So heavy bicep curls, I definitely recommend not doing. Bicep curls, lower weight with good form is something I recommend that you should be starting right now. The third exercise I have, guys, and this one's a bit of an obvious one, but it's going to be good mornings. Now, good mornings, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a hamstring and essentially even lower back, your rectus spinae, dominant movement, and you load up a barbell, so almost think like a barbell squat, and you're essentially doing a hip hinge from that position there. The reason why I don't love this one, guys, is the risk is just so, greatly outweighs the reward. And I would say 95% of guys just cannot get into a good, safe position when it comes to doing a good morning, because the issue with the exercise is you need so much hamstring flexibility to get yourself in a good, safe range. And on top of it, you're loading up a pretty good amount of weight if you're doing good mornings. So if your core isn't stable and you don't have the good hamstring flexibility, like I mentioned, then it's a recipe for disaster. If you're trying to grow your hamstrings, guys, way better ways to doing that. Obviously, just seated leg curl machines, line leg curl machines, even stiff-legged deadlifts. I prefer that over the good mornings because at least the weight's out in front here and it's not that compression on the spine, at least not as much. So other ways to train your hamstrings without, taking that risk of doing it. Now, if you have the hamstring flexibility, it's a totally fine movement if your core is stable also. But most men, especially over 35, lose the flexibility, maybe have a little bit of less core stiffness than we did in our 20s. And then when we start doing that exercise, it just leads to a bad result, which is a lower back injury. Exercise number 4 I have is a wide grip shoulder press. So when I mean wide grip shoulder press, I'm kind of talking like 90 degrees and just kind of pressing up from that position, just like that. The reason I have this in, because I do form checks for hours every single week, and I still see a lot of guys pressing super wide. Now, inherently, it's not a bad movement, of course. And if you have the mobility to do it, it's totally fine. However, there's no sense just risking it because if you are in that wide position, you're closing down space in that shoulder joint. And then when you elevate that arm, you might get some banging and maybe you heard the term shoulder impingement. That's where kind of rubbing the tendon together on bone. And eventually that could lead to a breakdown in a shoulder injury. So shoulder presses are great, guys. And I recommend you doing them to grow your shoulders. However, one small tweak, bring them a little more in front of your body. Like if this is 90, come more like 60, 55 range right here. This is more what's called the scapular plane. And you're gonna create a lot more space in that joint when you press overhead. And it's just a more of a safe way of doing the press altogether. So again, to kind of summarize this, wide grip, if you have good adequate range of motion, totally fine. But I would say if you're a guy over 35, if you sit down a lot during the day, if you're on your phone a lot, which I'm basically talking to probably 99% of people, including myself, bring it a little bit closer. You don't need as much mobility and you'll create a little more space in that shoulder joint. Exercise number 5, and we're keeping the shoulder theme here. But number 5, the one I have is going to be an upright row. Now, even right now, if I do this position like that, I have pain in my shoulder, and I have a chronic history of rotator cuff issues as a baseball guy for basically my whole life. The reason why I don't love upright rows, guys, is because you're elevating the arm with an internally rotated position. Now, remember before in terms of the wide grip press, I said you're basically closing out space in the joint when you're going wide. Well, think of like double it when you're doing like an upright row. You're basically kind of dumping the shoulder blade forward if you don't have like a range of motion, of course, which most people don't have. And then when we're elevating with while we're internally rotating, we're just closing that space down the joint and things are most likely going to get snagged in that position. Here's a bit of a crazy thing too. The upright row for some physical therapists is actually an impingement test where you'll come up, they'll apply a bit of pressure and they'll say like, does that hurt the shoulder? So you are literally doing like a shoulder impingement test if you are doing an upright row. Now, again, guys, full disclosure, like anything, if you can get into a good spot with good range of motion and good control, I am a believer that no exercise should be off limits. But in terms of deadlift, in terms of the bicep curls, the heavy bicep curls, in terms of good morning, in terms of wide grip press, in terms of upright row, I just think there are smarter alternatives to do without jeopardizing, your joints and putting that more at risk. So if you do want that effect from upright row and still kind of train your shoulders and upper traps, even like a high pull works great, guys. So where the hands are a little bit higher, face pulls are great. Just making sure the hand's not below the shoulder as you go up overhead into that position. So let me know, guys. I want you to, how many did you guess right here? You're probably going to guess I'm going to guess maybe 1 or 2. If you got 3 right, let me know because that's impressive. And if you disagree, call me out. I'm here to debate and defend myself. So let's have some fun, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. And please make sure to like and subscribe. We'll talk soon.